Hello, and welcome to the Glaucoma Community. My name is Bridget, and today I'll be speaking with Jessica, a Glaucoma Community member who was diagnosed with glaucoma in her early 20s. Today, Jessica is going to talk to us about the emotions she faced with her diagnosis, how it's made an impact in her life, and what she wishes she would have known sooner. Without much further ado, let's get into it. Welcome, Jessica. Thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
So, to kick things off, I'd love to know how old were you when you received your glaucoma diagnosis?
So I actually got diagnosed this year, beginning or mid-January, and I'm currently only 20 years old, soon turning 21. So I first got diagnosed in 20, and I'm still 20 years old.
So, as you know, that's a little younger than the average person is diagnosed. Were you already having vision issues that led you to seek your diagnosis, or was your condition identified during a routine exam that you were going to?
So I have myopia, which is being nearsighted. So I always had that, and my all of my family members had that. So we do have a little bit of routine checkup. I go to school and college, but usually I go to doctors in Korea, where my school is in the States. So um, last semester, I had some struggles with stress. So I thought my vision discomfort was with stress. So I went over to Korea during winter break and just rested up and stuff. But I still felt some discomfort in my vision that was a little bit different from my prescription getting a little bit bad. So I went to the doctor's, a local clinic in my hospital or my area,
Mhm.
and they said that it might be glaucoma. And I went to a bigger hospital in Korea that is well known for treating glaucoma, and they did confirm that it was glaucoma. I think I wasn't able to get diagnosed sooner because I have normal tension glaucoma. So even when I did checkups every once in a while in Korea, my eye pressure was normal, which is why local clinicians probably didn't catch the fact that I might have glaucoma or do have glaucoma. So, yeah.
Yeah. With any new diagnosis, it can come with a lot of overwhelming feelings and stress and just so many questions. Can you walk us through how you reacted when you found out that you had glaucoma?
Well, when I first went to the local clinic, I went with my dad and they said that it was glaucoma, but I had no idea what glaucoma was.
Mhm.
It was a first word that I've ever heard in my life, but my dad already knew what it was. So he was just in disbelief. And I was just constantly asking my dad, what is it? What does this mean?
Yeah.
Um, but later on, I kind of caught on what it meant. And when I went to the bigger hospital to get officially diagnosed, I think I was just kind of in shock. But it was kind of interesting because I feel like my parents and the doctors were more shocked than I was
Yeah.
because I was so young, and glaucoma is a disease that is more prevalent amongst older people. Because of that, I think I felt kind of less shocked, or I felt a little bit more calm because other people were more shocked.
Mhm.
And I am a little bit of a workaholic. So I read somewhere that there are 5 different stages of grief. So I kind of treated this diagnosis as a grief for me to get over. And I read in a book called When Breath Becomes Air, which is a neurosurgeon who got diagnosed with cancer. There was this one quote or section of the book where he said that he interpreted the 5 stages of grief opposite. So the first stage is denial, but the last stage is acceptance. And I think I kind of related to the neurosurgeon in the book because we both were, for me, I kind of accepted that I had glaucoma pretty fast so that I could work up a plan on what I had to do. Like,
Mhm.
okay, what treatment should I get? Which eye drops? I need to do some research as soon as I get back home. I was like kind of like a workaholic.
Yeah.
But once my diagnosis time has passed, like, and I started to kind of realize that I actually have glaucoma, I think I started to have a phase where I was kind of in denial and kind of scared and just didn't really know what I was supposed to do. So I think I went through the 5 stages of grief a little bit in mixed order, but I would say that at first it was like, okay, I have the disease, but then later on, I kind of caught on how serious it could be because it could lead to blindness. And then I'm so young, so I don't know, like it might be 10 years later that I become blind, but I would only be 30 years old, even if it's 10 years later. So I think I kind of got scared, but now I think I kind of got used to it already, even though it's been only 2 months. But yeah.
That's so interesting. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that and, caught up in trying to get all this new information as quickly as possible. And then once it settles, then you're kind of going through it a little bit more.
Yeah, I would say that my parents also are type of people who kind of wants to work up a plan first and then deal with the emotions. I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe it's because I'm Asian, but because of that, we were all just like, okay, we can do this, we can do this. And then we all were like, oh, like don't get too stressed out, like just live your life. But I would say that I have such great peers surrounding, like friends and family who support me throughout the first diagnosis phase. So I think I consider myself to have a little bit of an easier time compared to others. So I would say that it was pretty easy for me to accept it in the end.
That's wonderful to hear that you have such a strong support system around you.
Yeah.
So during those first appointments, can you talk to us about what sort of treatment options were recommended, and what treatment options you decided on?
Yeah, so because I have normal tension glaucoma, I was in the beginning a little bit curious as to how I would be treated because I already have a normal level of eye pressure. But the doctor told me that it's still the same as just regular glaucoma or open angle, closed angle, is just lowering the eye pressure. So I'm currently just using eye drops. And I read lots and lots of articles on what a healthy lifestyle for a person with glaucoma would be. So I don't know if all of these are true or if any of these are true or whatever, but I just go to the gym often, like almost every day, and like make sure that I don't get too stressed out over anything. And like it's just very small things, just like eating healthy, trying not to sleep on the side and stuff like that. That was all in Korea and lifestyle wise continued here as well. But in New York, I had to find another doctor because I go to school here and I have to check my eye pressure regularly. So I'm still having a little bit of struggle trying to find the perfect doctor that kind of matches my personality or like what I need. But they did recommend me to change my eye drops from the ones that I'm using right now because my eye pressure is being maintained, but it's not lowering. So I would say the main consistent thing is just constantly using eye drops, but I guess I'm still trying to figure out which eye drops I'm using. So yeah, I would say just eye drops and trying to live a stress-free life and just exercising and eating healthy.
All good tips. Could you talk to us about what impact glaucoma has had on your overall life, on your school and work life, your social life, even just like you said, implementing those lifestyle changes to help, maintain your eyesight? Can you talk to us about the impact all of those things have made on you?
Yeah, so last semester I was very busy, like I mentioned before, with school and work and clubs stuff, school club stuff. And I kind of had to drop, well, I completely had to drop my club, and I'm only taking two classes this semester and they're both online because I got diagnosed right before I went back to school. So by the time I went to the doctors, I couldn't go back to New York. So I had to stay in Korea for a month during school semester. So I had to kind of drop all of my classes and try to find alternatives so that I could graduate in time. And I had to do a bunch of meetings with counselors, like at my school and advisors, on how I could kind of have a healthy school life while graduating within time.
Yeah.
So I would say that that has changed, but because I am taking less classes because of this incident, it did give me a chance to live a way more stress-free life. I do have a lot of more time for me to just focus on myself and just kind of work out what my life in New York will be like with glaucoma, such as like trying to find the right doctor.
Mhm.
So, in terms of school, I guess it has its pros and cons. Um, for social life, I think it's a little bit of a struggle, but like I said before, all of my friends really understand the situation that I'm in. So they are very supportive of it. I guess for me, myself, it is a fight that I have to do within myself that I guess only people with glaucoma understand. So I understand that glaucoma isn't something that you could physically really feel unless it's like headaches time to time or sensing vision loss. But once I got diagnosed, I got very scared and I started to feel a little bit of like placebo effect, different like signs of
Mhm.
weird things happening. So I had to kind of get used to it or ignore it and be like, oh, it's just my mind, it's just my stress, like it's nothing. And whenever I go out, like if it's too dark, I get scared and be like, oh, is it my glaucoma that it's so dark, or is it just really dark outside? Or
Mhm.
even just sleeping at night. Um, just like when all the lights are off, it's just a little bit scary. Now I'm like better, but I guess those are a little bit for social. And I am still young, so I do go out at nighttime a lot, but I have to put in my eye drops at nighttime. So there are moments where I feel a little bit awkward, just like in the middle of like hanging out with my friends. I just like put in eye drops. Um, so other than that, the social and school lives are fine. My work is remote, so I don't really have to deal with, or I didn't tell my work about my situation, but my work environment and my coworkers are all very understanding of my school and just me having a social life as well. So
Yeah.
um, I didn't I didn't need, I don't have to tell them, and they would still like kind of match up if I mentioned like, oh, I need some time off. They would just not ask why or anything and just accept it.
Mhm.
So I would say the environment that I'm in is pretty great. I'm feeling very grateful because it was pretty easy for me to adjust pretty quickly once I came back to New York with school and social life and work and everything.
That's wonderful. It's so good to hear that you have such a supportive environment also in your job, along with your friends.
Yeah.
So, knowing all that you do now, what would you wish you knew at the beginning when you were first diagnosed?
I would say because I'm the type of person who constantly does research on how I could live a healthy life with glaucoma. Um, I was constantly looking for articles regarding glaucoma, but um, I couldn't really find a lot of articles regarding my age because I am a unique case. I am only 20 years old, but when I was in Korea and when I went to the doctor's appointment, I noticed that there were also very young people within the hospital for glaucoma. So I kind of realized in person that, oh, glaucoma is pretty prevalent among 20s or 30s as well. And even in New York, I met up someone who is in his 20s and has glaucoma, and a lot of people in the community online as well are in their 20s and has glaucoma. But I just feel like a lot of research hasn't been done on glaucoma in general, just because it's a disease known for 60 years old or like older people having it.
Mhm.
So I would say I wish more research has been done in general, not just among my age, but just overall with glaucoma, because if it's a disease that is known for amongst older generation, I feel like scientists don't really do a lot of research because they just think it's age related. But looking at myself and other people, I think that this is not just an age related disease. So I feel if more research has been done amongst diverse group or just in general, then it can help to bring new experiments or like case trials and different outcomes that could potentially create a cure for glaucoma. Um, so I guess more research on just on glaucoma in general is what I wish I knew in the beginning. And just uh, not really knowing what I'm supposed to do when I first received diagnosis because it's so vague. So I kind of had to create a healthy lifestyle plan for myself. And even the lifestyle that I'm living right now, I'm not sure if it's the best for me, but I guess if there are like standards or like set guidelines for people with glaucoma, then it would have been so much more helpful when I first received a diagnosis.
Completely. Is there anything you would like to learn more about living with glaucoma going forward?
I think I just want to understand what glaucoma is. I feel like there's not a lot of clear definition because when whoever I talk to, like doctors or people in the community or just anyone,
Mhm.
nobody can really tell why they have glaucoma or like why this disease came to their body. So I think having a reason is so important to accepting your diagnosis
Mhm.
because for me, I'm so young and I work at a media company, for example, and I look at a screen for such a long time, then I had a time where I just thought that I had this disease all because of how I lived, but it's not really like that. So I just wish there's just there's a way for us to find why glaucoma exists or how it comes to our body, and it can help. I think that can help out in so many different ways, like finding a cure or even just like mindset. It can help you accept your diagnosis as well.
So, you've been such an active member within our community. To wrap things up, I'd love to ask if you have any words of encouragement or advice to anyone going through this in their 20s or just in the glaucoma community in general that you could share.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I had a time where I thought everything was because of me that I had gotten glaucoma. Um, Maybe I looked at a screen for too long. Maybe I was eating something unhealthy. Maybe I was, I don't know, going out too late every single day. But I think glaucoma, after doing a lot of research and just spending time to myself a lot, I think glaucoma is just a disease that is kind of unlucky, but I would never blame it on yourself. It's just happens and it's very unfortunate, but I think with time, we can all kind of learn to accept it. And glaucoma is a very scary disease. It could lead to blindness, but at the same time, it is silent, known for being silent, which is bad. But I think it has its pros of us not really having any physical pain over it. Um, all we have to do is put in eye drops and do regular checkups, which we already kind of do anyway with our eyes, with like a visual test or vision test in general. So I would kind of take the silence as an advantage and live your life how you used to live before you got the diagnosis, because nothing has really changed. My left eye is a little bit worse, so I can't really read with my left eye, but human beings are kind of adapt to change very slowly, quietly.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you don't really, even if you have change in your vision, your other eye or your more dominant healthy eye will kind of adapt to it on its own. So your body knows what you're doing, and you just have to kind of give it moisture like eye drops. So I would say just live your life the same and not really be too anxious or like depressed over it, because I feel like once there is a time where you fully accept your diagnosis, you might regret just being so depressed over it and not really living your full potential and wasting time, for example. So I would say just not to worry about it. But at the same time, be comfortable about feeling sad about it, because it is something that is serious in the end. So I would say just kind of accept it and know what you're dealing with. And yeah.
And that's a wrap on today's interview. I hope you enjoyed getting to know Jessica as much as I did and hearing about her experiences with glaucoma in her 20s. If you'd like to share your story with the community, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. You can always reach us at info@responsumhealth.com. We hope you have a wonderful day, and remember, we're in this together.